Abigail Adams, American heroine. If particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation. Abigail Adams was one of the first feminists in the new post-war United States. Reflecting her Quaker roots, she led women of her time to yearn for freedom and equal rights for all, not just for themselves, but for every race. She helped her husband John Adams to mold the country into a thriving nation, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, not just white men. Her legacy lives on today through modern legislation such as the Equal Rights Amendment and the ongoing fight for equality. Abigail Adams was a spirited woman with good morals who dreamed of seeing a day where men and women of every race were treated as equals. Born to a Quaker family, she often reflected her Quaker roots into her everyday actions. She campaigned to gain more rights for women in the newly formed United States of America. Miss Adams was often sickly as a child, but she continued her education nonetheless by learning from her mother and reading books from her father's study. Abigail Adams married at the age of 19 to a bright young 29-year-old lawyer named John Adams. Together they had 6 children. While her husband was away, Abigail was left alone to raise the children and manage the family farm. Abigail Adams and her husband talked often while he was gone. Throughout their marriage, they sent over 1,000 letters to each other. In one of her letters, Abigail told John, "Remember the ladies, and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors. Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of husbands. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could." She often spoke her mind in public, urging the women of her time to speak out for more rights. After her husband's first term as president, he was not reelected. Some people blamed Abigail for this, as she was his main advisor. Abigail took these criticisms with a grain of salt. She enjoyed finally being out of the spotlight, no longer being the First Lady. Long after her retirement from the presidential political scene, Abigail continued to speak out for women's rights until the time of her death in 1818. Abigail Adams lived a long, full life with much time spent in the political hot seat for her views on women's rights and the politics of the time. Her legacy still lives on today, as well as her campaign for women's rights.